I'm your host, William Tapley, also known as the third eagle of the apocalypse and the co-prophet of the end times. The topic for this program is the who, what, where, and when of World War III. Remember, World War III is next on the prophetic horizon. World War III is what will trigger the 7 years of tribulation. Please don't listen to the false prophets who say that some kind of covenant between the Antichrist and Israel will trigger the tribulation period. Let's see what our Lord says about that in Matthew chapter 24. And you shall hear of wars and rumors of war. See that you be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. Our Lord here is referring to World War III. And World War III will trigger the 7 years of Great Tribulation. Remember, our Lord says that these things which he is talking about here are the beginnings of sorrows, and the sorrows is the tribulation. Daniel will answer almost all of our questions about the who, what, where, and when of World War III in his chapter number 11, as he writes. And at the time of the end, now that's the time we're living in now, shall the king of the south is Barack Obama, because he came from Kenya, which is due south of Jerusalem, shall push at him. The him is the king of the north, who is the premier of Russia, and Moscow is due north of Jerusalem. And the king of the north, that is the premier of Russia, shall come against him, that is the President of the United States, like a whirlwind. Now the whirlwind indicates air power, both planes and missiles. And Daniel continues, with chariots and with horsemen and with many ships. Certainly Russia has a great navy. And he shall enter into the countries, that is the premier of Russia, shall enter into America and England, and shall overflow and pass through. In the book of Revelation, St. John also talks about World War III, which he describes as between the whore of Babylon, which represents England and America, and the scarlet beast she rides, which represents international communism. Let's look at chapter number 17. And the 10 horns on the beast shall hate the harlot. The 10 horns represent all the leaders of the world. And as we know, most of the world does hate America. And shall make her desolate and naked, and shall burn her flesh. Certainly a nuclear war would cause the burning of people's flesh. And shall burn her with fire. This is one more description in the Bible about World War III. And in Revelation 9 verse 15, St. John writes, and the 4 angels were loosed for an hour, day, month, and year, for to kill the 3rd part of man. Now this refers to the second phase of World War III. This refers to the invasion of Europe by the kings from the east. This 200 million man army will raid Europe, especially the nation of Italy, the city of Rome, and the Catholic Church. In Revelation there are numerous examples where St. John talks about the destruction of England and America, which he calls the whore of Babylon. Babylon the Great is fallen, is fallen. The 2 is fallens refer to the 2 nations that will fall, England and America. Render to her double, double, and to her double. Notice St. John uses the word double 3 times, just as he used the phrase is fallen 3 times. And St. John continues, woe, woe, that great city Babylon. The 2 woes, again, refer to the 2 nations that will fall. This phrase is also repeated 3 times. In chapter number 8, Daniel also describes World War III under hidden symbolism. Behold, a he-goat came from the west. Now this goat symbolizes communism. It comes from the west because Germany, where communism was born with Karl Marx, is west of Jerusalem. On the face of the whole earth, and touched not the ground. This is very important, because when the goat does not touch the ground, that means that communism's attack against the West will be by air power and by stealth. And the goat had a notable horn between his eyes. This notable horn is Soviet Russia. And he came up to the ram that had two horns. These two horns symbolize England and America. And he came up to the ram that had two horns, which I had seen standing before the river. The river is another indication of capitalism. Remember back in Revelation, St. John sees the harlot standing on many waters and ran toward him in the fury of his strength. Communism's attack against the West will be very ferocious. And Daniel continues, I saw him come close to the ram, and he was moved with anger against him. And he struck the ram and broke his two horns. Russia will defeat England and America in World War III. And there was no power in the ram to withstand him, and he trampled upon him. Now Daniel foretells this destruction of Western civilization in his chapter number 4, when he analyzes the dream of King Nebuchadnezzar. And the king saw a watcher, a holy one, coming down from heaven, saying, cut the tree down. This cutting of the tree down is World War III. And destroy it, yet leave the stump in the earth with a band of iron and brass. This band of iron and brass symbolizes the one world government and the one world religion, which will restrict Western civilization. And let its portion be with the beasts of the field till 7 times pass over it. The beasts refer to the 3 beasts in Revelation: the beast from the abyss, the beast from the sea, and the beast from the earth. And 7 times, of course, refers to the 7 years of tribulation. In chapter number 7, Daniel further describes this one world beast. Then I would know the truth of the 4th beast, which was different from all the others, exceedingly dreadful, whose teeth were of iron, and his nails of brass. Again, the iron and the brass symbolize the 2 constrictions which will be put on Western civilization: the one world government and the one world religion. Even the story of Daniel in the lion's den symbolizes these end times. Then the king commanded, and they brought Daniel and cast him into the lion's den. Now this casting is World War III. And the lion's den symbolizes the 7 years of tribulation. And Daniel continues, and a stone was brought and laid upon the mouth of the den, and the king sealed it with his own ring and the ring of his nobles. These 2 rings are the same as the brass and the iron. They symbolize the sealing up of Western civilization through the one world government and the one world religion. Let's see what Daniel says in chapter number 7. As for the other beasts, these are the 3 beasts, the lion, the bear, and the leopard. In other words, Russia, England, and America. Their power was taken away, yet their lives were prolonged for a time and a time. In other words, these 3 nations will be subservient to the one world government, but they won't be totally destroyed. If the Lord is calling you to leave Babylon and move to another country, by all means do so. But what about the very poor? How will they be able to leave? I believe that God will protect the poor. Leaving Babylon means leaving her spiritually and morally, not just physically. If you do have an opportunity to move within the country, my advice, get as far away from any abortion clinic as you can. In conclusion, let's remember that God is telling us the who, what, where, and when of World War III, not to scare us, but to prepare us. And if you would like more information, simply write to the address you see on your screen.